Let's see. Second here. I'm going to do a commentary, and I gotta readjust my microphone so I can be heard. It's been a while since I posted anything, so I thought I would take advantage of this opportunity. Just give me a quick second here. All right, so we're going to do a quick commentary on, before I do that, I just want to make sure I haven't streamed on this channel in a while. I just want to make sure that my sound is coming out properly. Streamed on this channel in a while. Just want to make sure that my sound is coming out properly. I generally don't get a chance to do commentaries because of my schedule, my workload. But this is the Shabbat. I did our Shabbat lesson, and generally I fellowship online with other teachers. But today I stumbled across this video, and I want to address a video that I came in contact with, and let's see. Ask Dr. Brown. So I want to just put him up on the screen. And let's see, can I do this here? Let's just do it this way. So this is Dr. Michael, I believe his name, Dr. Michael Brown. And so I'm going to offer commentary on Dr. Michael Brown's video. And of course, the reason for this video is because lately there's been a major circulation of video footage from this book called Hebrews and Negroes. So I wanted to kind of address some things. I'm an Israelite, Hebrew Israelite. I teach that the so-called African Americans, blacks, and Negroes are descendants of the biblical Israelites. I hold to that, and we can prove that through historical records as well as through prophecies. But this particular video is on one of many. I'm going to kind of try to get as much in as I can on this time. So this here, we're going to start with him. And if he should happen to see this, Dr. Michael Brown, please invite me on your show. We can talk. We'd love to have a discussion with you. Okay. But in the meantime, I have some questions. I'm going to go ahead without further ado. I'm going to go ahead and to allow the video to play. And I'm going to offer my commentary. Okay.
Israelites today.
It's time for The Line of Fire with your host, biblical scholar and cultural commentator, Dr. Michael Brown. Your voice for moral sanity and spiritual clarity. Call 866-34-TRUTH to get on The Line of Fire. And now, here's your host, Dr. Michael Brown.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in to our Thoroughly Jewish Thursday broadcast. It's going to be a very important broadcast talking about a subject that is increasingly in the news today. We're going to separate fact from fiction, but I want to make clear my phone lines are open. If you are a Hebrew Israelite yourself, if you're a leader in the Hebrew Israelites, by all means call. I've had my phones open to you for years. I've had whole shows where I've said, hey, call in, just opening the phone specifically to you. If you do call in and identify yourself as a Hebrew Israelite, especially if you're a leader, I'll put you to the top of the callers when I do get to the phones. If you are a recognized leader in the Hebrew Israelites and you say, I'm not going to do it on your show, but I'd like to have a formal moderated debate, we could do it live online before the largest possible audience, where we would debate something specific, such as the history of the Jewish people, or are Jews like me legitimately Jews? If you want to debate those things, or debate the history of the Hebrew language and what is the right understanding of the Hebrew language, I'm happy to do a formal moderated debate, or look at key scriptures. The end of Deuteronomy 28, who does that apply to? Key verses in the Bible. way of salvation. If you'd like to do a debate about that, formal, moderated, equal time where we get to rebut each other and do counter examinations and things like that, cross examinations, by all means. Again, you have to be a recognized leader, because I want to be fair. If you're not a recognized leader, then you're not representing things accurately. And let's just say I win a debate easily and expose error. Well, that doesn't mean the others are wrong because you didn't represent them well. So I want to be fair. I always want to be fair. And I recognize there are many different groups and expressions among those who identify as Hebrew Israelites. Some would be very close in faith to me, and some would be like the folks I've confronted on the streets in the past. So I recognize there are many, many different groups.
Okay, I want to cut to the chase. So basically, here's how you eliminate debates with people. Recognizable. I've never sought for recognition, so I guess I wouldn't fit in that category. Recognized. But at the same time, I'm going to offer my commentary, and as many people that won't debate, I'll offer commentary. Okay, because I come from accuracy, and I come from truth standpoint. Okay, so now I'm not going to individually attack a person and say you as an individual are not an Israelite, because I don't know a person's history. I don't deal with skin color of tone, because it's misleading. But at the same time, as we deal with this subject, I deal with the people as a whole, not as an individual. Okay, there are different individual cases where there are exceptions, right? Okay, so let me get into, without further ado. So I want to skip forward because he plays a clip or something or another. I'm gonna get straight to that clip. He plays a clip, but I'm gonna get past that. Okay, let's see.
All right, so that just gives you a feel, and if you're part of that, you feel the power, the energy of it, and the masculinity and force of it. And so out on the streets, again, this is just getting to people's attention more, but something been going on for many, many years. Then Kanye West was just on an interview with Alex Jones, InfoWars, whose views I've repudiated and differed with for years. I was against him being censored years back for other reasons, but absolutely have repudiated his views on many subjects over the years. So he's on with Yi and with Nick Fuentes, who is an anti-Semite and someone that recently dined with Trump, which Trump said he didn't know who he was, etc. So I just want you to hear this interchange. This is an interview with...
Okay, we're not going to do that either. I want to get to his points.
Especially Hitler.
Yeah, horrific, absolutely horrific, completely unjustifiable remarks. I'm not blaming that on Hebrew Israelites. I'm not saying that they said it. That's what he said. That's what Kanye West, or Ye, said, as his name has been legally changed. Absolutely abominable statements, especially Hitler, you find good, and one of the most evil human beings who ever lived.
I'm trying to get to
on
the
planet,
commentary.
and led to the deaths of not just 6 million Jews, but probably 20 million people in World War II because of his madness and his evil. In any case, and here's the lie that I dealt with in this chapter.
Okay, here we go.
Today's Jews are not really Jews. They are actually members of the Khazar kingdom who converted to Judaism. Further variations on this notion include the belief that the original Israelites were all black. All right? So this is a lie that I refute in the book at some length. While with sickening regularity, anti-Semites, in particular members of the Black Hebrew Israelite cult, make this accusation. You are not really Jews. You are Edomite devils. The white man is the manifestation of Satan. The original Hebrews were all black. And then I have a bunch of quotes like that.
Well, I mean, come on, we can get off into that debate with those camps. I don't deal with that nonsense. So I'm trying to get to the meat of what he's going to cover. So let's continue.
People saying those things just within the last few days. I can go to the YouTube video that we reposted, my interview with Vocab Malone from a few years back about Hebrew Israelites.
Okay, I just heard red flag. Vocab Malone is anti-Semitic. If you want to label Nick Fuentes anti-Semitic, so is Vocab Malone, because he's saying the blacks are not Israelites. So if being fair, if we are saying that we are Israelites based on our historical record and oral traditions, just like you do, okay, anybody that says we're not, unless they can prove we're not, are anti-Semitic. So where's the same where's the same consideration towards us who state that we're Israelites? We don't get that same recognition. So it's not fair. And then you're gonna have a conversation with Vocab Malone. Okay? So it's just not fair. All right.
I mean, the most vile stuff we delete, but I mean, on a regular basis, ugly comments and lying attacks and things like that. So it's constant. It's constant. Instead of dealing with facts and evidence and history and verifiable data, it's just name calling. All right. So I say I could multiply citations like this by the thousands, or if I scoured the internet, by the hundreds of thousands, meaning that an increasing number of people believe this nonsense. But is there any truth at all to it? If Ashkenazi Jews are really Jews, why they, in this case, why they, including me, why are we Caucasian? Weren't the Israelites originally Middle Eastern? And don't DNA tests prove that Ashkenazi Jews are not really Jews? As for black Hebrews, doesn't the Bible indicate that the original Hebrews were black? So these are questions I deal with in the book. So I start here. Let's begin with the obvious. First, slightly over half of Israel's Jewish population is Sephardic, and virtually no one claims that Sephardic Jews can be traced back to the alleged conversion of the Khazar kingdom in the 8th century. So right there, the idea that, quote, today's Jews are not really Jews, or the Jews living in Israel are imposters, goes out the window. Kiss it. Goodbye. Second, Hitler, along with European anti-Semites for centuries...
Let me back up. I want to address what you just said.
Doesn't the Bible indicate that the original Hebrews were... And don't DNA tests prove that Ashkenazi Jews are not really Jews? As for black Hebrews, doesn't the Bible indicate that the original Hebrews were black? So these are questions I deal with in the book. So I start here. Let's begin with the obvious. First, slightly over half of Israel's Jewish population is Sephardic, and virtually no one claims that Sephardic Jews can be traced back to the alleged conversion of the Khazar kingdom in the 8th century. So right there, the idea...
Okay, to address that. In his book, he's addressing. Now, there is a distinction between Sephardic Jews and Ashkenaz Jews. And I want to provide something from a Jewish source, right? So let's do this here. And this is from Judaism 101. Now, as far as to who is responsible for, they don't have any information as far as, let me see, what about Judaism? They don't have about us. About us, who is Judaism? Let's see. I don't see where they actually identify who the person is. That's, but it's a Jewish source, and from the looks of the web layout, it's a Jewish source. So this is called Judaism 101. Okay. Now, I want to. He's talking about Sephardic. So here it says here. This article says Ashkenazic and Sephardic Jews. Right. This is called 101 basic. Ashkenazic and Sephardic Jews represent two distinct subcultures of Judaism. So, what does that mean? Okay. Two distinct subcultures of Judaism, right? So distinct means different, right? Okay, is that right? Let's see. Let's ask Google. What does distinct mean?
Here's the definition of distinct: recognizably different in nature from something else of a similar type.
Okay, so the source tells us that they are distinct, right? The source tells us that they are distinct, different. Right. And so number two distinct subcultures of Judaism, right? So Ashkenaz and Sephardic are different. Okay. We are all Jews and share the same basic beliefs. Okay. Now, let me just say this here. You can support Ashkenazic conversions, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with anybody. Anybody can convert to the Hebraic covenant. They call it Judaism. I don't ascribe to Judaism. And because of the converts that came in, they created oral laws and traditions called the Talmud, which has to do with the Babylonian Talmud first and then Jerusalem Talmud, right? So I don't ascribe to that. Torah is the source for our covenant, and then we deal with that. So anything outside of that is to be taken with a grain of salt. All right. So now, by way of dealings, if you go to 2 Kings chapter 17, I'm not going to do it because I'm not trying to make this to be a lesson. I'm trying to do a commentary, which is different. If you want to see our teaching, you can go onto our channel on Sons and Daughters of the Covenant. But on this channel, I want to kind of try to get straight to the point and deal with certain specific topics and subjects, right? So now, real quick, in a nutshell, if you look at this, go back to this link here, you'll see if I can blow it up real quick so you can see it a little bit, a little better. There we go. Maybe one more time. Okay, there we go. So the definition, it says Ashkenazic and Sephardic Jews represent two distinct subcultures, two different subcultures of Judaism. We are all Jews and share the same basic beliefs. That's what I just said. So you can believe, you can become a convert, because that's what the Most High told Abraham. He said, he that is born of your seed or of stranger that is bought with money, right, must be circumcised. So anybody can come under the covenant because the covenant was to Abraham, right? Abraham was prophesied, the Most High prophesied to Abraham that I make you the father of many nations, right? So many nations mean not just those that come out of your loins, but those that come under the covenant, right? So anybody can come under the covenant, right? So now the purpose and why we want to focus on who the physical descendants are is because so that the people that are the actual descendants of Israel can know why they're being punished. According to prophecy, Israel will be punished until the return of the Messiah, right? When he would gather Israel from the four corners, right? So that's why it's important to know who Israel is physically. Okay. Now going back in. So in this writing here, it says that, but there are some variations in culture and practices. It's not clear when the split began. Okay. It's not clear when the split began, but it has existed for more than 1,000 years, because around 1000 CE, Rabbi Gershom ben Yehuda issued an edict against polygyny that was accepted by Ashkenazim but not by Sephardim. Okay, that's neither here nor there. It's not even relevant, right? What I want to point out in this article is this right here. It says here, he already told us that they are two distinct different subcultures, Ashkenaz and Sephardic, right? In this box right here, you'll see it says there are several subgroups of Jews which differ culture and traditions, right? So he goes to say, first is Ashkenazic, right? Ashkenazics is defined in this Jewish source. Ashkenaz, which is what the brother just said he was, is described as descendants of Jews of France, Germany, and Eastern Europe. Okay. Second class, he says, Sephardic, which are descendants of Jews from Spain, Portugal, North Africa, and Middle East, right? The third class, he says, Mizrahi, okay? Descendants of Jews from North Africa and the Middle East, okay? Other subgroups are Yemenite, Ethiopian, and Oriental. Okay, we won't deal with that, but our focus is on this Ashkenaz, right? And he just made a distinction. So there are differences between Ashkenaz and Sephardic. Now, what do the Sephardic and the Mizrahi have in common? It says from the Middle East, right? See that right there, Middle East? Sephardic, Middle East. Ashkenaz, it doesn't say Middle East. It says France, Germany, and Eastern Europe. Okay? Now, one would say, oh, that's anti-Semitic. Well, they're being anti-Semitic because they're not connecting them to Shem. Now, I want to offer a scriptural reference real quick. I'm not going to be lengthy with it. real quick. I'm going to get real quick and straight to the point. All right. So let me open up my eSword real quick because I wasn't intending on doing it this way. But since I mentioned it, I'll do it. So let's go to Genesis chapter 10, Table of Nations, right? Let's blow this up. And let's go to Genesis chapter 10. Okay. It says the sons, right, of Gomer, or Gomer, Ashkenaz. See that? Ashkenaz. Ripab, Togarmah. Okay. So Japheth, Noah had 3 sons. Real quick. I'm going to do it real fast. Discipline. Noah had 3 sons. Shem, Ham, Japheth. Right? Shem, Ham, Japheth. Until there were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, that's this one here. Right? That's one of the 3. Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yavan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tyrus. Now, Japheth had Gomer, who Gomer had Ashkenaz, right? Ashkenaz, see that? So Gomer had Ashkenaz, Riphath, Togam, and Togarmah, right? These are the 3 sons of Gomer, okay, which means German. That's a Hebrew word meaning German, right? So the German Jews, according to the biblical record, come from Ashkenaz, right? Now, if you notice, go down. So someone would say, well, brother, you being anti-Semitic. If I'm anti-Semitic, then the Bible's anti-Semitic. If you want to classify Ashkenazi as Shem, because it says right here in the Bible that Ashkenaz comes from Gomer, which comes from Japheth, right? Now, so Ashkenaz comes from Gomer, which are the sons of Japheth. Now, let's continue. I want to bring clarity, all right? So let's go down, right, real quick. I'm not going to be in it real long. I'm going to get straight to the point, get back to the video, all right? So now, the children of Shem, right? Elam, Asher, Arphaxad. So anybody that comes out of the loins of Shem would be Shemitic, or as the modern people say, Semitic. So to be Semitic means you come from Shem. That would be Elam or Elamites, right? Asher or Asherites, Arphaxad, Arphaxadites, Ludims, Lud, or Aramites, right? So all those would be classified as Shem. Notice you don't see Ashkenaz in there. So Ashkenaz comes from Germany, which is Gomer. Now, going back to the article that we pulled up right here, it lets us know that Ashkenaz are from, it says right here, Germany. See that? Ashkenaz comes from Germany, not from Shem or Israel. And they said it in the definition. They are from Eastern Europe, Germany, France. Okay. So Dr. Brown, going back to him, obviously either he is alluded to or has been evasive in including that information, or he is deflecting, right? So let's go back into his commentary, all right?
Today's Jews are not really Jews, or the Jews living in Israel are imposters, goes out the window. Kiss it. Goodbye. Second,
so he didn't make his point. I just proved his point was wrong. Continue.
Along with European anti-Semites for centuries, persecuted and hated the Jews for one reason. They were Jews. Does this mean that Satan himself was trying to wipe out the wrong people, and for no good reason at that? All right, I'm going to get back with some factual historical data, and then we're going straight to the phones. Thanks for joining us on this important Thoroughly Jewish Thursday broadcast.
Okay, so let's skip forward. He goes to a commercial. Let's see. Let's get past the commercial. All right. Is this it right here?
Not just peace, but well-being.
Okay.
Let's
go back in.
Shabbat Shalom a little bit in advance.
Okay,
welcome to the line of fire.
Hold on a second.
Certainly not. That's through intermarriage over the centuries.
Let's back up for a second.
Okay. That all blacks can trace their ancestry.
Let's back up again.
And with blood that's relevant. I'm going to see if I can get the publisher's permission to just post these pages, the relevant pages, with the end notes online so you can read, because I'm not going to have time. I want to get to callers. I'm not going to have time to go through all of this, but I want to give you the essence of some of the error here. Again, the lie that today's Jews are not really Jews. That is a lie. The lie that all...
Okay, for the record, anybody can convert to the covenant of Israel. I don't use the term Jew, but he does, and most people, a lot of people use that. Okay, that's fine if you want to use that. But basically, anybody can become under the covenant of Israel, the covenant of Abraham, right? So, it doesn't matter, okay? But there is a protocol, right? And the protocol is through the natural born, through the 12 tribes, right? The 12 tribes. Okay, let's continue. He's going to make a point.
Can trace their ancestry to the tribes of Israel. That is a lie. Those things are not true. There are white Jews, there are black Jews. Those things are true.
Let me back up for a second. He says something I want to address.
Our phone lines are open. 866-348-7884 is the number to call. I've got so much information here, and our hands are stained with blood, that's relevant. I'm going to see if I can get the publisher's permission to just post these pages, the relevant pages, with the end notes online so you can read, because I'm not going to have time. I want to get to callers. I'm not going to have time to go through all of this. But I want to give you the essence of some of the error here. Again, the lie that today's Jews are not really Jews. That is a lie. The lie that all blacks can trace their ancestry to the tribes of Israel. That is a lie. Those things...
No, and I don't think any Hebrew camp teaches that all blacks are Israelites, right? He says Jews, because Hamites are black, Africans are black, but all Africans are not Israelites. So no one has taught that. No one is teaching that. So I don't know where you're getting that from. But I don't know any camps that teach that. But when you say black, specific to, when we use the terminology black, we're specifically specifying those that were descendants of the ancestors who were taken enslaved into America and to the Four Corners. That is what we're talking about. Okay, let's continue.
True. There are white Jews, there are black Jews. Those things are true. Were there white Israelites in the ancient world? No. In the ancient world, the time of Moses, we weren't right. Certainly.
Okay, so now watch the point he's going to make about this. He's saying that in the ancient days they weren't white. Okay. So the question is, when did they become white? That's the question. I want to know. Watch what he says. What's his answer to that?
That's through intermarriage over the centuries. We weren't black either. All right. We would have been brown skin, would be most likely, and for all the evidence that we have. And it's interesting that the one discussion of this in around the early 2nd century, a rabbi happens to mention that the Germans are white, the Ethiopians are black, but the Jews are like boxwood, so a light brown color. This is in the early 2nd century. But
well, okay, now here's the thing. This is really, it really is not a good point. But if you, so for the Negroes have been scattered to the Four Corners. Negroes are still Negro. You go to Europe, you see people that's black. I'm light skinned, okay, and my light skin has nothing to do with, I'm still black, okay, so to speak, right? So because they went to different parts of the world, they lost their color, and I don't buy that. I don't buy that. That's not a good argument, okay? Sons and daughters of the covenant can come in many forms, shapes, and colors. I have no problems with that at all. But a specific family is not going to lose their color, right? Because of them intermarrying and all of the above, right? Case in point, you got people like Tia and Tamara, right? Their father's white, but the mother's black. Look at them, right? So you're gonna see something in the DNA that's gonna maintain its essence, right? So that's not a good argument, Dr. Brown. I mean, I'm surprised you would use that argument, but let's continue.
Colors are material to me. In terms of if Jesus was black, I worship Jesus the same way because it's not the flesh that I worship. If he was white, I'd worship him
And this, you're making this about worship. This has nothing to do with worship. It has everything to do with prophecy and knowing who Israel is for the specific purpose of knowing where we are in the prophetic time clock, right? All right. Man, there's so I'm trying to discipline myself. I can go into the book and show you some stuff, right? But Israel would be under oppression, under the curses, under as a whole, not some individual cases, but as a whole, Israel would be under the curses, under oppression in all the nations where they are, right? That's prophecy. Let's continue.
Well, he wasn't black either. But either way, that's immaterial to me.
Well, no, Yahshua the Messiah was come from the tribe of Yehuda. So Yehuda married into the Canaanites. You go to Judges chapter 3, the Israelites married amongst the Canaanites. They lived amongst the Canaanites, right? They married the Canaanites. Canaanites were Hamitic people. Zondervan says that Ham was the father of the dark races of people, right? So if Egypt, which is with the four sons of Ham, is Cush, right? Is Mizraim, who they named him, the Greeks named him Egypt. Foot, the Greeks named him Libya, and Canaan, right, are the four sons. Each one of those four sons are Hamitic, dark races of people the Israelites intermingled and married with. So you go figure that. The father of the nation of Israel sojourned in the land of Ur of the Chaldees, which was the land of Cush, right? The other side of the river of Cush, right? Cush represents not just East Africa, but Cush represents all that territory, including Babylon, Ur of the Chaldees, where Abraham was. The historical record in one of the books, I think is the Jew and Negro, I think it is, says that Abraham's wife was Nimrod, Cush's son, Nimrod's daughter. Nimrod was a Hamite, so if Abraham had a wife who was Ethiopian, or I should say Cushite, then Abraham's son Isaac was a mulatto. All right, let's continue.
Moses was a black man, that's immaterial to me. If Jeremiah was a black man or a Chinese man, that's immaterial. All right, he wasn't neither of those.
It should be material to you what they look like, because it connects the people to them for the whole world to see why a people was enabled to be enslaved for 2,000 years in slavery in ships, right? Now, for those that ascribe, I'm not a conspiracy person or whatever. I used to be, but what happened in terms of with the 4 years of Holocaust, I don't know if the numbers are accurate, but I know that it was a real event that happened, what they call the Holocaust, right? So we don't want to underplay that, but at the same time, the Israelite captivity was not just to last for the 4 years that I believe was the 4 years that the Holocaust lasted. The Israelites was to be led captive to all nations, and it says in Luke chapter 21, Jerusalem we trotted down to the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled, right? So that's what that says. But let me get back to him, okay?
But those things are immaterial.
It is very important. So that you want to downplay the reality, the truth, right? It's important to know everything that the Bible talks about. We talk about genealogies, and this one begat this one. It's relevant. So for you to be a Bible teacher and say it's not relevant shows that you're downplaying the importance of the precious book that you are instructed or that you have been inspired to teach from. Let's continue.
Point out, though, linguistic studies, archaeological studies, and most importantly, DNA studies destroy the idea that Ashkenazi Jews are descendants from the Khazar kingdom. As one expert noted, since the late 19th century, the so-called Khazarian theory has promoted the idea that a bulk of Ashkenazic Jews living in Eastern Europe descended from medieval Khazars, a semi-nomadic Turkic people who founded a powerful polyethnic state in the Caucasus and north of the Caspian, Azov, and Black Seas. The theory received a recent boost with the 1976 publication of The 13th Tribe, a book by Arthur Kessler. Most recently, the Khazarian hypothesis has been promoted by authors like Tel Aviv University professor of...
Okay, but stop for a second. So he mentions Arthur Kessler. And so what I want to do is I want to, let's see if I can bring him up, because why would this man lie, right, on his own people, right? Let's see. Okay, now he said Kessler, but I think his name is Kostler, right? Let's see. This is a picture of him. This is Arthur Kostler, I think. He said Kessler. Are you saying, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or wrong, but Kostler or Kostler, right? Seems like that would be the proper way to pronounce it, but who am I to pronounce the person's name? Let me see. Let's see how Google says it. Who is Arthur Kostler?
According to Wikipedia, Arthur Koestler was a Hungarian-born author and journalist.
Okay, Koestler. Okay, Hungarian-born. Okay, so he's born in Hungary. Okay. Kostler, she says. He said Kessler. She says Kostler. So I don't know if Google said it right, or if he said it right, or I said it right, or whatever. But he wasn't right, and I wasn't right. She said Kostler. He said Kessler, so he left the O out. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. So let's go back. Wikipedia, of course, is has a history of him. It says Arthur Koestler, right? German, Hungarian, right? He was born 1905 March. Was Hungarian born. Arthur Kostler was born in Budapest. Let me see. Hold on a second. I'm confused now. He was Hungarian born author and journalist. He was born in Budapest, and apart from his early school years, was educated in Austria. He joined the Communist Party of Germany, but he resigned in 1930 after becoming disillusioned with Stalinism. Okay. All right. It says here, author's mother, Adele, I can't even say it, Gitalis, I don't know. Adele Gitalis was born into a prominent Jewish family in Prague. Okay. Among her ancestors was Jonas, Mikhail Loeb. Okay, that name that I can't pronounce. Prominent 18th century physician, essayist, whose son Judah. So, hey, the Jews consider their Jewishness on the maternal side. So, if the mother was a Jew, Kostler was the Jew. Okay, so was he a self-hating Jew? He said in his book, The 13th Tribe, that the Jews came from Khazar. I mean, now, the brother, is his word against yours. And this Kostler was born in 1905, right? So, let's see. Michael Brown, Dr. Michael Brown, when was he born? Let's see. Let's see if he made the Google list. Okay, let's see. Michael Brown. I guess, let's see. I don't know if this is him or not. Let's see if this is him. Yeah, that's him. Okay. So he made the Wikipedia. So Michael Brown was born in 1955. Interesting. Arthur Kostler was born 1905. He was born 1955. So he's a liar? right? He wrote before you were born. I mean, you're not too much older than me. But Arthur Koestler wrote in his book, pull up so you can see. If you go to archive.org, you can put up the 13th tribe. It should come up. 13th tribe. All right, let's see. The 13th tribe. Here it is right here. The 13th tribe, Arthur Koestler, right? Now, somewhere in the book, this is he was mysteriously killed. I think it says somewhere in the book, if I recall reading it. But in his book, let's see, let's download this. You can download these books and you can search in the book, right? So we'll download it. And we'll look at, let's just see. I want to, let's see, how do I want to save this to my, okay, save now. All right, but what I wanted to do was, this is the book, right? Of course, it's kind of blowed up. Okay, I'm not going to do that. This is Arthur Koestler was born in Budapest, 1905, attended the University of Vienna. He was a foreign correspondent for German and British publications during the Spanish Civil War, was captured by the fascists and condemned to death. Saved by British protesters, he came to Britain and has been ever since one of the most dynamic personalities in the world. Literary scene, his novel Darkness at Noon was translated into 32 languages, ranks for 1984 as the most widely real political novel of our time. His other books include Sleepwalkers, An Act of Creation, and Ghost in the Machine. Right? Okay, so I'm not gonna get off into that, but so he disapproves that Koestler, right, was accurate in his information. All right, and he discredits a couple others. Let me just back up for a second, because he discredits a lot of people that disagrees with his thesis. So let's see. Let's do this here. All right.
North of the Caspian, Azov, and Black Seas. The theory received a recent boost with the 1976 publication of The 13th Tribe, a book by Arthur Koestler. Most recently, the Khazarian hypothesis has been promoted by authors like Tel Aviv University professor of history Shlomo Sand.
Okay, so now he discredits Shlomo Sand. Okay, so let's see, Shlomo Sand. Let's close this tab down here. All right, let's close this down. I got what I need out of that. Let's see. Let's go Shlomo Sand. Show who he is, right? Okay, here's Shlomo Sands, right? Shlomo Sand, singular. Okay, Shlomo Sand was born 1946 in Austria. How about that? He was born in Austria to Polish Jewish survivors of the Holocaust. Did you catch that? He was born, I gotta blow this up so you can see it. He was born, right? Saying this guy, another Jewish person that he's discrediting, right? Labeling him as being anti himself, right? But he says Sam was born in Austria to Polish Jewish survivors of the Holocaust. How about that? His cultural background was grounded in Yiddish culture. His father having taken an aversion to rabbis, abandoned his Talmudic studies at a yeshiva, and dropped attendance at synagogue after his mother was denied a front seat after her husband's death, and they could not afford the seat price. Okay, so interesting, right? So here's another person he discredits, right? Shlomo Sands, right? Let's continue. Let's see who else he discredits. Okay.
Tel Aviv University professor.
Before I do that, let me see. Shlomo Sands has written some books. Okay, so you have here. Let's see. On the Nation and the Jewish People. And let's see, you got Illusion du Politique, Intellectual Truth and Power, Historians, Time and Imagination, Words of the Land, Twilight, okay, J. Juilliard, George Sorel, okay. So these are some books that he wrote, but basically he does lectures, and he does lectures. This is interesting here. I want to see what this is, but I'm not going to do it in this particular video. But I'm curious to know what this is. Jews are not descended from cases as Hebrew University study says. Okay. So Shlomo Sands is another. He
Linguistics Paul Wexler, as well as
Paul Wexler. Paul Wexler is another person. Let's see if I can find Paul Wexler. So these are people. Who is Paul Wexler? Okay, Paul Wexler. Here he is here. That might not be the same one. Okay, you got a couple of Paul Wexlers here. Okay, I can't pull him up, but I see this guy here, but this may or may not be him. Okay, here we go. Paul Wexler, born November 6, 1938, is American-born Israeli linguistics. Okay. So he's American-born Israeli. Okay. Okay, so that's another person. He discredits him. Let's continue, because you can't discredit people without proving them wrong. He's just naming these people that he's discrediting. I disagree with you, so I'm just going to say you're not teaching the truth, right? So that's Paul Wexler, okay?
Geneticist Aaron Elhak. Despite this institutional backing, the theory is absolutely without evidence. As any historian will tell you,
Wait a minute, hold on. Back up for a second. In the middle of the thought here.
Descended from medieval Khazars, a semi-nomadic Turkic people who founded a powerful polyethnic state in the Caucasus and north of the Caspian, Azov, and Black Seas. The theory received a recent boost with the 1976 publication of The 13th Tribe, a book by Arthur Kessler. Most recently, the Khazarian hypothesis has been promoted by authors like Tel Aviv University professor of history Shlomo Sand and Tel Aviv University professor of linguistics Paul Wexler, as well as the geneticist Aaron Elhak. Despite this institutional backing, the theory is absolutely without evidence. As any historian will tell you, generations of Jews, like generations of any people, leave historical traces behind them. These traces come in multiple forms. For starters, people leave behind them historical documents and archaeological data. Predictably.
So basically what he's writing, he's giving you a philosophy, right? Okay, anybody can say anything, right? I do believe that these people that he's discrediting have done their research, so what I would suggest to him and anybody that's trying to debunk them is take their material and prove what they're saying as false, right? So I don't think these you're discrediting all these people that wrote. They're Jewish people, and they don't have no reason to lie about their own identity. I mean, so I think that's being disingenuous to your own people. Let's continue.
Archaeological evidence about the widespread existence of Jews in Khazaria is almost non-existent. While a series of independent sources does testify to the existence of the 10th century of Jews in the kingdom of Khazaria, and while some of these sources also indicate the ruling elite of Khazaria embraced Judaism, the Khazarian state was destroyed by Russians during the 960s. In other words, we can be confident that Judaism was not particularly widespread in that kingdom. And then it got wiped out. Here's the deal. And again, it's going to be too
So I don't know who he's quoting from. Let me back up and see, because I want to look at his source, see who he's quoting.
The widespread existence of Jews in Khazaria.
Oh, this is his book. But what's his reference? See, you got to give your reference. So what he's reading, people sometimes people get caught in their emotions and they read what they feel or what they are passionate about. But cite your references to see what, where this is coming from, because this is in his book. Okay.
Is almost non-existent. Well, a series of independent sources does testify to the existence of the 10th century of Jews in the kingdom of Khazaria. And while some of these sources also indicate the ruling elite of Khazaria embraced Judaism, the Khazarian state was destroyed by Russians during the 960s. In other words, we can be confident that Judaism was not particularly widespread in that kingdom. And then it got wiped out. Here's the deal. And again, it's going to be too technical to read through all of this. You can trace things. In other words, we can go back before the time of the New Testament. We can go back to Jewish people in Babylonian captivity. We can go. You
can't do that because see, you skipping past all those thousands of years saying the people, the Ashkenazi are those people, right? But you got a big gap. Okay, we can read in the Bible, we can read in history, but to settle a group of people in one landmass and say that they're the people. That's kind of hard to swallow, right? Especially considering the history of that which the Jews put out, right, on the diaspora, right? So you can't connect the people, the German Ashkenaz, to 1,000 years back, predated, right? It would be a repetitive history, right? Now, there's another video I'm gonna address. There's another person. I think he's of Samaritan descent, right? Samaritans can be converts, but they're not the physical descendants of Israel. The physical descendants of Israel was taken into captivity, as it says in the book. Scriptures in 2 Kings chapter 17 says that, right? Luke 21 says that those that came back into Jerusalem will be led captive into all nations, right? Didn't say they would continue to practice keeping the Torah for years and years and years without going into captivity. He said they would be taken into captivity into all nations, right? So we have to be honest and upfront and sincere if we're going to teach something. If you either believe the Bible or you don't, right?
To actual documents that were written about it from the Babylonians and Assyrians. We can go back to previous Israelite history where others are writing about it. We can go back to the Moabite stele where it's referenced to.
But like I said, all this is null and void because you're skipping thousands of years. You're going from history, which is we're not arguing that. We're not arguing that this stuff happened, the Moabite stone and all the records and stuff like that. But you go from that to Europe with missing history, right?
Real. And battles with Moab. We can go back to the Sennacherib stele where Sennacherib says he has Hezekiah shut up in Jerusalem like a bird in a cage. We have this ancient Near Eastern verification of these stories. Then we can see where the Jewish people.
But see the key, he said Middle Eastern. Remember now in the article we showed you, Ashkenazi don't have Middle Eastern in their heritage. Right. Okay. Let's not forget. Let's put it back up. Let's put it back up. Uh-oh, did I take it down? I think I took it down. I got to bring it back up now. Oh my goodness. Hold on a second. I had to find it now. Took it down. Let me see. Hold on a second. Maybe I should have left it up. Okay. I'll bring it back up. Just to remind everybody what we discovered, right? Okay, so it says Ashkenazi, right? Descend from Jews of France, Germany, and Eastern Europe. That's what the source says. He said Middle East. It doesn't say Middle East in the Judaism 101. It says France, Germany, and Eastern Europe. Okay? Now, for the record, Google, where is Eastern Europe? Where is Eastern Europe? Okay. She's not going to talk it this time. Okay, let's do it this way. I'll bring it on the screen so you can see it. Let's just make like we don't know nothing. Okay. How many countries are in Eastern Europe? Somebody answered it already. In total Eastern European area, the world counts for 10 countries out of the total number of countries in the world, which varies by source from United Nations current 193 countries plus 2 permanent observers to the 262 listed in 2022 CIA World Book. Okay. There you go. They got a picture. They got a picture of it. Map picture. There you go. Here you go. Eastern Europe. Belarus, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia Republic, Hungary, Moldova, Poland, Romania, Russia, Slovakia, Ukraine, right? So that's Eastern Europe, right? So now they're saying Ashkenazi descend from France, Germany, and Eastern Europe. So we know where Germany is, right? We know where France is, right? So they're saying that these Jews come from, the Ashkenazi come from France, Germany, and Eastern Europe, right? That's it. So we can't go by nothing other than what is provided to us by the Jewish sources, brothers and sisters, right? Now, let's go back in and see what else he had to say. So he, from his own lips, didn't connect him, his lineage, he said, from Middle East, but his sources from his own people said they're not from the Middle East. Which means the possibility of them converting is very much possible, right? Okay. There's nothing wrong with conversion. I mean, the Most High wants everybody to convert to the truth. Let's see. Hold on. I messed up here. Let's see. Anybody can convert to the truth, right? So there's nothing wrong with conversion. There's nothing wrong. But from a prophetic standpoint, Um, to my point, I want to. I quoted Luke, right? Okay, Luke 21 and 24, right? Luke 21 and 24, I believe it is, says, "They shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled," right? Okay. It says of uncertain affinity, right? The endless time. Right now, there's another brother that has a channel. He says the times of the Gentiles was 3 years. And we can't read that nowhere. Any reference or record, right? But that Greek word says if affinity, right? Means that there's an indefinite period of time, right? All right, so Jerusalem is trodden down by the Gentiles, right? Now, let's go back. I'm not too sure how much more he has left. I know he didn't. Oh, let's see. I gotta bring my browser back in. I lost my browser. Where's my browser at? I'm working with the app. Oh, okay. I get it now. No, that's not the right one. I lost my browser. I'm working with an Apple computer. Sometimes. Okay, here we go. All right, we're back in now. All right, let's go back into it.
We can trace the Hebrew language. We can see how it developed. The idea that
No, you can't trace the Hebrew language, because another point I want to make is that, see, this there's so much wrong with this. There's so much wrong with this. Okay, let's do this here. Okay, what is the language? What is the language of Ashkenazi Jews? Okay, let's ask Google. What is the language of Ashkenazi Jews?
Yiddish. According to Department of Jewish Studies, Yiddish is the traditional vernacular or daily language of Ashkenazic Jews. Ashkenazim are Jews originally from German-speaking lands in northwestern Europe, who developed their own religious customs as well as their own Jewish language, Yiddish.
So Google must be anti-Semitic, because Google is saying that Google says traditional vernacular of the daily language is Ashkenaz Jews. Ashkenaz are Jews originally from German-speaking lands in northwestern Europe who developed their own religions, customs, as well as their own Jewish language, Yiddish. That's Google saying. That's not angry or somebody that's anti-Semitic saying that. This is what Google is saying. Google is saying that let's do it again. Let's let her talk. What is Yiddish?
Here's the definition of Yiddish. A language used by Jewish people in Central and Eastern Europe before the Holocaust. It was originally a German dialect with words from Hebrew and several modern languages, and is today spoken mainly in the US, Israel, and Russia.
Now she gave a little more information. That time she said Yiddish is a language used by Jewish people of Central and Eastern Europe before the Holocaust. It was originally a German dialect. Right? So, brother Dr. Brown, come on, man. Come on. It's nothing wrong with you embracing your heritage, right? If your heritage is German, then embrace it. What's wrong with that? Why would you want to continue to embrace something that's not your heritage? Your own records are saying that is your heritage, right? Now, just for the sake of this, I want to do. Let's open another tab here. I got all these tabs open. Let's go. Okay, now the same thing that she just said, we'll see it right here, right? A language used by Jewish people in Central and Eastern Europe before the Holocaust. It was originally a German dialect with words from Hebrew. Now, just in case you say, well, brother, you're being biased because that's not written from our sources. That's written from somewhere else, right? Okay, I'm glad you said that. So let's go to Jewish Encyclopedia. And let's put in Yiddish. Okay, let's hit enter. Okay, Yiddish. Did I spell it wrong? It's two D's. Right, Yiddish. Okay, this is a drama. I want the language. Okay, let me see. Hold on. Let's see. Let's go back. Let's go in here. Let's see. Oh, Yiddish. Why? Let's look in here. Okay, it's not coming up here. I would think it would be in the Jewish Encyclopedia. Let's do it again. You know, it might be here. Let me see. Let me just keep looking. Okay, let's do it this way. All right, let's see. I want to try to get a source. Okay, this is okay, here we go. Back to 101 again. Judaism 101. It says Yiddish language and culture, right? Yiddish was the language of Ashkenazi Jews, but not Sephardic Jews. Let me repeat. Yiddish was the language of Ashkenazi Jews, but not Sephardic Jews. Yiddish is based on German, Hebrew, and other languages. Yiddish uses alphabets based on Hebrew. There are standards for transliterating Yiddish. Yiddish was criticized as a barrier of assimilation. Yiddish developed rich literature, theater, and music. Okay, now they have something here. It says the Yiddish language was at one time the international language of Ashkenazi Jews. The Jews of Central and Eastern Europe and their descendants. It says a hybrid, look at this, a hybrid of Hebrew and medieval German. Yiddish takes about 3/4 of its vocabulary from German, but borrows words liberally from Hebrew and many other languages from the many lands where Ashkenazic Jews have lived. It is a grammatical structure all its own and is written in alphabet based on Hebrew characteristics. Scholars and universities classify Yiddish as German language, though some have questioned that classification. Yiddish was never a part of the Sephardic Jewish culture. The culture of the Jews of Spain, Portugal, the Balkans, North Africa, and the Middle East, right? They had their own international language known as Ladino or Judaismo, which is a hybrid of medieval Spanish and Hebrew in much the same way Yiddish combines German and Hebrew. Okay, how about that? Now, I'm not going to go off into that, but let's just look at this first line here. It says, it's generally believed that Yiddish became a language of its own sometime between 900 to 1000 CE, but it is difficult to be certain because in its early days, Yiddish was primarily a spoken language rather than a written language. It is clear, however, that at this time, even great biblical scholars like Rashi were using words from local languages written in Hebrew letters to fill in the gaps when the Hebrew language lacked a substitute for a term when the reader might not be familiar with the Hebrew term. For example, in his commentary on Genesis 19:18. Okay, so that's good. That's good. So that's Yiddish, right? Now, so we're showing you this because in their own references, they're letting you know that Ashkenaz, this is not anti-Semitic, this is their resources, right? So when a person quotes their resources, you're anti-Semitic for quoting their resources, something that they published themselves, and you're just merely just repeating or reading what they published. So how could you be anti-Semitic for publishing something that, or for reading something that they published? This is unbelievable. The things that we go through because you are an educator and you are presenting or you are reading, right, from references that have been provided to you by the people, the source. All right, let's continue.
Hebrew, as it's been passed on through the centuries by the Jewish people, is so-called Yiddish European, is more mythological than Santa Claus. It is complete, bizarre, ridiculous, out there with zero linguistic support. And you can trace the language, you can trace the people. So we can see from Babylon, then we can see the Jews that came back and resettled. We can see the Jewish people that were there in the time of Jesus. We can see where those people then were scattered after they were exiled from Jerusalem and from Judea in larger form, became known as Palestine. We can then see where they've been, migrated, interacting with church leaders over the centuries. It's all traceable. We can see the languages, it's been preserved. We can see how it's developed. We can see letters and morphology and phonology and things like that. We can explain why in Hebrew you say shalom, but in Arabic you say salam, and in Aramaic you say shalom. We can understand these things. There's history, there's detail, there's fact, there's information. And
but all that you said, none of that's connecting you to them. Okay, what you're saying is true as far as to the language, but like we just shared, I mean, from the reference point, which is a Jewish source, that was the language, right, of the Jews, right? Yiddish, right? And the origin, as the source says, was German, right? France and Eastern Europe, not Middle East. That's what they're saying in their source of information. So, as the saying goes, don't shoot the messenger, right? Someone is bringing you the mail, right? They're not creating the mail. They're just basically reading the mail that was afforded to us. All right. Let's see what else he has left. He don't have really too much left. I think he's going to take some questions. I'm going to cut that part out. Let's continue.
You have some other groups creating this whole new way of using Hebrew. It is completely mythological, completely without linguistic support, and completely breaks down the actual structure of the words, the nouns, the morphology of these things. It's like me saying I'm speaking English to you and I begin speaking French. It's that bogus. But when you have people who are not educated in these ways, when you have hostility to the white man or hostility to the Jew added in, and then
I get what he's talking about now.
Black
He's talking about the created Lashkodash language, right? I mean, I never was a supporter of that. So, but the point he's making comparison between them creating a language versus the German Jews creating a language, right? So, because you create a language doesn't make you the people of the book. And I don't think they're making themselves the people of the book because they created this language that they call the Lashkodash, right? So, the point is not even relevant, but continue.
And African suffering in history, often at the hands of white men, then you get this ideology of hatred that then fuels a false theology, and then failings in the church and all of that. It's all too easy to demonize and come up with these new ideas, but they are 100% bogus and to be utterly rejected. And I'm happy to have a formal, moderated, equal time debate with any respected, qualified Hebrew Israelite leader on any of these subjects that I'm talking about.
So you're having one right now, and so you probably wouldn't see. I've never been one to try to build a name for myself. If I was, you know, but since I'm not qualified, I'm not a reputable leader, as you so eloquently put it, I can put you in your place with truth from the sources of the people who already admit, right, that they are not from the Middle East. Okay? And I'm not angry with anybody. Just angry with this deception, right? And misinformation, right? The misinformation is for you to mislead people to say you are a descendant of those people, when in your resources you actually say you're not. There's nothing wrong with being a convert. Welcome to the covenant of Abraham, right? But to proclaim that you are without the prophecies being fulfilled, I want to see how he's going to tackle that. If he's going to tackle that. I haven't seen his video, so I don't know where he's going. Let's continue.
Hey, let us go over to Ja in New Jersey. Thank you for calling the Line of Fire. I appreciate calls
it. Now. Good afternoon, Brother Brown. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
His phone is low.
Hey, so Dr. Brown, I'm in New Jersey, and out of my 23 years of living in New Jersey, I have seen a lot of people who identify as Hebrew Israelites, on the street corner, and I would hear them putting a lot of emphasis on how Esau is the white man, and and I just never could understand why. I understood the doctrine, but I just never understood why there was so much emphasis on who the white man was, opposed to them just preaching the gospel. Jesus died for our sins. So I noticed that, right? And I also remember.
I'm going to end this video here at this point, and I'm going to watch the rest of the video, but I might do a part 2. I'm going to end this right here because he's taking some phone calls. I want to listen in to see what he's going to address. So for now, I'm going to sign off and say shalom, shalom, shalom. So stand by.